Hello, everyone, and welcome to Scourge of War Waterloo, Episode 1 Redux. Um, the purpose of doing a redux of the Brigade series, which I talked about briefly during the intro of Episode 14, when I originally started doing this series, I didn't really have kind of a game plan of what I wanted to accomplish. I really just wanted to put up videos of me kind of beating all the scenarios. Um, so when I initially did the Brigade videos, the first 8 videos of the series, um, it was just me playing the scenarios, and there wasn't any kind of commentary or explanation to what I was doing or anything. I really just wanted to put videos up of me winning the scenarios. Um, and over the course of that, as what I wanted to do kind of took shape, and I kind of developed a plan. I began to decide that I wanted to focus the series on really helping new players to get a grasp on the game's mechanics. Just a little bit about myself. I've been playing Scourge of War Waterloo since the game came out in June of 2015, so over 2 years. Before that, I was playing Scourge of War Gettysburg, Antietam, Chancellorsville, and the Civil War Scourge of Wars since 2012. So I have a lot of experience in playing these games, and I felt that there really wasn't a lot of good resources on YouTube where new players could come and learn about the game, or if they were stuck on a certain scenario or in a certain situation that they didn't know how to deal with. There just wasn't like resources they could go to on YouTube and see how to get around it, because most of the videos on YouTube of people playing this game were people just like them, playing it for the first time, didn't really know what they were doing. And there really weren't a lot of good videos on YouTube that actually tried to explain the game to a newer player. And for that matter, there weren't videos of people playing the game who even knew how to play the game themselves. Um, About the only guy I can think of that actually knows how to play Scourge of War on YouTube is the Historical Gamer, and he doesn't really play the game too much anymore. And when he did, he focused on the Civil War games a lot more than he focused on Scourge of War Waterloo. And I think he put out maybe one video on Scourge of War Waterloo, and he's about the only guy that actually understands the mechanics of the game, and even he doesn't understand them the way I do. So as the series took shape, I I started wanting to actually explain what I was doing, why I was doing it, how I was doing it, and to give new players kind of a resource that they could come to and better understand the game, better understand the mechanics, and the best and most efficient strategies to beating each of the scenarios. But that happened over the series of videos. I really didn't start deciding I wanted to do that until about like the end of the Brigade series and kind of the beginning of the Division series, and that's kind of where um, that took shape. The idea of the series, anyway, to be geared towards helping new players get a grasp on the game. And I like the way I've been doing it with the Division series, where I've been adding commentary to each scenario, so that I can explain what I'm doing as we're playing through the game. Um, I didn't do that with the Brigade series. I just played the scenarios and then uploaded them to YouTube. And at the end of the Brigade series, that's kind of when I realized I wasn't really helping new players just by putting playthroughs of the game with no commentary up on YouTube. Because it's one thing if you already knew how to play the game, then yeah, you could watch what I was doing and say, "Oh, okay, that's easy. Well, let me just do that." But if you don't know how to play the game and you're new to it, then just watching videos of me playing it without any kind of explanation isn't going to help you. Um, it might a little, but it wouldn't really. You wouldn't necessarily understand why I was doing something, or the underlying reasoning. Um, so I made it episode 9 after all the Brigade videos were done, where I just kind of fast forwarded through the first 8 Brigade scenarios, kind of to all the important points of each scenario, and you know, kind of covered what you minimally needed to know to beat each scenario. And it was kind of like a band-aid. It was like half a fix. But I was never really happy with the way that worked out. It was a 3-hour video. You had to really sit through, a lot, you know, in one sitting to cover every brigade scenario. Um, and it still didn't get across kind of everything I needed to get across, because if it did, it would have been like a 7-hour video. It would have been really, really long, because I would have just, you know, added commentary to the entirety of each 8 scenarios, which is ultimately what I want to do. I just didn't want to do it that way in one video. So I still have all the raw footage of the original videos I did, and I'm basically just going to overdub commentary on them, pull down the original Brigade series, and just redo them. So the point of this episode here is to actually start over fresh with the Brigade series and really target it this time around to new players. That's the whole theme of this series. Is I know the game recently went on sale on Steam, and more new players are playing the game. And hopefully, if they get stuck in a situation, it will occur to them to go searching on YouTube, and hopefully they'll come to this channel and find their answers here. Um, so that's basically kind of the new focus of this series. Now, I'm happy with the way the division scenarios are going. I'm not changing them at all. I just want to redo the Brigade series and bring it in line with the way I've been doing the series since I started doing the divisional series, by making the Brigade series kind of follow the same format, the same layout, and hopefully provide a better starting place for new players. So this is an introductory video just to explain why I'm doing that, and um, you know, hopefully, for the new player to realize that this is going to be the place to come to when looking for answers. Over the course of these videos, I'm going to explain a lot, but also understand I haven't been a new player in many, many years. So some things that I may just take for granted because I've known them for so long may be something that you don't understand at all and need further clarification. I do encourage everybody, if they have a question, ask it. This in the comments of the videos. There's no such thing as a stupid question. I'm never going to treat you like an idiot. It's a complicated game at first. When you come into this game knowing nothing about it, it does have a steep learning curve. Um, so yeah, there's no stupid questions, and I'll go out of my way to explain something if you don't understand it. With that being said, I just want to establish a couple of standards that we'll be playing the game with. First, I just want to click on the options here. We'll be starting playing the game with the default normal setting. Um, this is probably the most historically accurate setting as far as playing the game for a beginner. The uh, the AI aggressiveness is set to default. The morale level of enemy units is 0, which is their historical settings, and the AI regiment strength is 100%, meaning it's not nerfed and it's not buffed. It's just kind of historically where it is. So this will be the default difficulty setting that we'll be playing the game on. There are harder difficulty settings. There's seasoned, veteran, historical, grognard, and really all these difficulties do is artificially buff the or inflate the numbers. Uh, it makes the AI more aggressive. It makes the enemy morale higher than they were historically. It gives them more men, more strength per unit. It doesn't actually make the AI any smarter or play any better. It's like a meat shield. It just gives them more of a meat shield, tougher units in combat. That's really all it does. So there's no reason to torture yourself if you're a new player by trying to play the game on some ungodly difficulty. That's not going to help you. You're new player. You're trying to learn how to play the game. This is probably the best setting to learn how to play the game on. You don't need to worry about couriers in this game. You can basically just, in this version on normal, you can just play it as a point and click game, and um, you can see everything on your mini map within 1,000 yards of the camera. And there's no maximum camera distance from you. You can zoom all over the screen. You know, there, you know, there are more historical ways to play the game. There's, headquarters in the saddle where the camera doesn't move away from you, whoever you are in the game, and you just, you know, you're basically playing from that position, and you have to, use the courier system, and it's much more historically accurate as far as the simulating the command of the game. But I don't necessarily recommend starting with that type of gameplay. It's much more complicated, and a lot more things are going to happen where you just don't understand why it's happening. The best way is probably this, to start as a beginner. So just remember, normal difficulty is what we're going to be playing on. The rest of these options are just tailoring the game to your computer's kind of strength of your computer. Um, I'm using the default sprite ratio, which is 0, which is a 1:6 sprite ratio, which means every troop sprite, so to speak, on the field actually represents 6 men. And you can increase that to, if you have a weaker computer, to be up to like 10-1, I think, where each sprite will represent 10 men. Or if you have a supercomputer, you can actually run the game 1:1, where each sprite will actually represent uh, one soldier, one sprite, and 1 man. I don't run it at that. I just run it on the default setting. I'm trying to keep as much of this default as possible to not, you know, confuse newer players. So basically, the rest of this is just stuff tailored to your computer. My computer's actually pretty good, so I tend to run everything at max. But if you find you're getting lag or stutter in the gameplay, try bumping some of these things down a little bit, and it might improve your computer's performance. The camera speed. This is just how fast the camera moves forward, backward, up, down. Um, and I tend to have forward and backward, right and left move pretty quickly, while I have the up and down a little slower, and the actual rotation even slower, because uh, even at a low setting like this, it actually rotates pretty fast when you actually go to rotate it. So forward, backward, right and left, that just helps you cover a lot of ground quickly. Um, and that's pretty much it for the options. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is the stock toolbar that comes with the game. You just bought the game, you just installed it, you boot up a scenario, and the toolbar that you're confronted with, I'm sorry, is terrible. For I don't know any chocolate covered way to say it. The stock toolbar for this game is awful. It's practically unusable. It just is so limited in terms of the functionality. So really nobody that plays this game with any kind of seriousness uses it. We use um, the expanded toolbar, the Grog Toolbar. And it's a modification that replaces the stock toolbar. And I'm going to show you right now how to get it. So I'm going to resign from the game here, and we're going to bring up the Norbsoft forums here. I'm going to put a link in the description of the video that will link you to this page. But basically, the expanded toolbar, the Grog toolbar, was created by Reb Bugler here, who's a moderator and on the forums and part of the design team for Norbsoft. Very nice guy. I've talked to him on the forums. And it's gone through several changes since it came out. These are all a list of previous updates to the Grog toolbar. But he always keeps it updated with the latest toolbar, and that's this one right here. So what you want to do is click on this and download the toolbar. And then you can just extract it to your desktop. And what you're going to do is you're going to open up your hard drive here, and you're going to look for Matrix Games, right? Here, however your system is, I'm sure you know where to find it. And open Matrix Games, and you click on Scourge of War Waterloo. and you're going to put it in this folder right here called mods. So you're going to download the toolbar, extract it to your desktop or wherever you extract to, and then you're going to move it in here and just drop it in here, and you can see here it is. And that's it. That's all you need to do as far as outside the game. So after that, let's bring the game back up here. So after that, all you really need to do is go into modifications, right? And you're going to see it listed here. Don't worry about the rest of these. These are other mods I have that we're not going to be using. This is the KS mod, which is something completely different. Um, and you're just going to click on it. You see, turn it on, turn it off, blah, 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 just like that. Now you'll see I have another one here called Stock Scenarios, and we'll cover why I have that in a minute. You don't need to worry about that with the newest Grog Toolbar. I've been using the Grog Toolbar since its first iteration, and it's gone through a lot of changes. And early on, it required another mod to actually play the stock scenarios of the game. Um, that has all been integrated into the newest Grog Toolbar, and this is of no, is probably won't even appear in your modifications box. It'll just have the stock toolbar, and we'll cover why this is like that in a second here. So you're going to click on the expanded toolbar, make sure it's checked, and then you have to, this is very important, you have to come over here to where it says use selected mods and click this as well. If you just do the checkbox and then back out, you're not activating the mod. The game actually has to process that you've actually activated the mod. So you're going to check this and then hit use selected mod. And you'll see a little hourglass, and it'll take you back to the screen. And then when you go to click on modifications, you'll see it has that memorized that you have activated that mod. Now, the one thing about using the Grog Toolbar is you cannot play battles through the Waterloo Battles tab. If you try to play through this tab where you have all the scenarios kind of listed here, and you just kind of toggle between the different expansions and so forth, and if you try to play the scenarios through this tab, the game can crash. So what you have to do is actually play the scenarios through the user scenarios tab, right? So here we have all the same scenarios, and there's no difference as far as playing them. It just worked. It's just the Grog Toolbar is designed to work through the user scenarios tab and not the Waterloo Battles tab. But it's all the same scenarios. Here are the first 20 scenarios of Waterloo, and here's Ligny, Quatre Bras, and Wavre. Now, the expansions, Quatre Bras, Ligny, and Wavre, when you install them, they automatically put their scenarios both in the Waterloo Battles tab and here. So there's nothing you need to do to get the expansion scenarios into the user scenarios tab. They're already there. They just install that way. Originally, the Waterloo battles, the stock 20 scenarios that came with the original Waterloo, did not do that. They were only available through the Waterloo battles tab, and the user scenarios was just empty. So you had to create a mod to put the 20 scenarios of the original Waterloo game into the user scenarios tab, and that was what that stock scenarios tab that I had clicked in the modifications was originally. Now that's all been combined into the newest the fifth version, I guess, of the Grog Toolbar, which is the newest version. And basically, you don't need to do anything anymore. When you drop the toolbar mod into your mods folder and then activate it in the modifications, it's automatically going to have these scenarios in the user scenarios tab. You don't actually need to create a separate mod to put these scenarios um, into the user scenarios tab. It's all done for you, so it's a lot simpler now than it originally was when I first started using the original Grog Toolbar. The reason I keep using I'm still using it the way I originally had it with a separate stock scenarios modification is simply because by the time the newest version of the Grog Toolbar came out, I had already played all these scenarios through that um, through that mod, and a lot of my scenario are unlocks. For the locked scenarios are um, they're done through those files that I originally had. So I just left them in place and just deleted the copy of the stock scenarios that came with the newest Grog toolbar and just continued using mine. But you don't need to do that. Just install the Grog toolbar, just like I showed you in the mods folder. Activate it in the modifications section of the game, and then when you come into the user scenarios tab, these should all be here waiting for you. And like I said, I will put a link in the description of the video to take you to that web page where you download the Grog toolbar. And that's pretty much it. The only other hitch with the Grog toolbar is an issue that I've talked about with Reb Bugler. He's aware of it, and there probably will be a fix forthcoming to it. And I'll talk about it more in the next episode where we actually deal with that kind of hiccup. And it basically just has to do with deploying and recalling skirmishers. There's a slight glitch that you just have to be aware of. It's not game breaking or anything. It's not even really a pain in the butt. It's just something to be aware of. And once you are, it's really no issue at all. Um, and basically what it is the original toolbar had a separate button for both deploying skirmishers and recalling skirmishers. It had two different buttons to do that. The Grog toolbar only has one. When you deploy a skirmisher unit, it has the deploy skirmishers icon, and then when you click on the skirmisher unit, in order to recall them, the button should be the recall, unsplit unit button. And there's a hiccup where if you have the unit on take charge, which means we'll cover that again in the next episode, um, the button doesn't flip. It just kind of stays frozen. And it's a real easy fix, and it's nothing to worry about. I'll cover it more in the next episode. So yeah, that's basically all I wanted to do here is just give an introduction to what the series is going to be about, and to show you the options we'll be playing on, and what mods we'll be using. And like I said, the only mod is that Grog toolbar mod, and that's just because the stock toolbar is so terrible to play with that it's not worth using. It's just not worth using. The Grog toolbar is superior in pretty much every single way. So that's it. I just wanted to give a quick introduction, and I'll be redoing the brigade scenarios, and I'm going to try and upload them kind of all at once at the end when I'm done, and pull down the old brigade series. So take it easy, guys.